think we can all agree that it's important to be open to trying new things, especially after the age of 50. It keeps us learning and growing as we age. But why is it so hard? In this video, I'm going to explore 5 underlying challenges that hold us back and discuss strategies for how we can overcome those challenges. You, like me, may have spent the better part of the last 20 or 30 years raising kids and encouraging them to try all sorts of new experiences. We know that it's good for their growth and development. Trying new things can bring creativity and beauty to our everyday world. It can also help build resilience, adaptability, and confidence in an ever-changing and ever-increasingly technical world. And trying something new can help engage us in an entirely new community where we meet new people and make new friends. But it's hard. I read a quote when I was researching for this video, and it said that when you live in a routine, you don't have to think so much. And that's true. Routines can be incredibly helpful for just getting us through our day without having to micromanage and rethink every single step that we take every day. Eating the same breakfast, traveling the same route to work, following a cleaning schedule routine, all of those can help free up brain space for more important things. But if you're too much of a creature of habit, you might find that you have dug yourself into a rut, and it's really difficult to get out of it. As we approach 50, our habits and routines can become deeply ingrained, making the idea of stepping outside of that comfort zone feel really daunting. However, I do think that breaking out of these habits and routines every now and then is crucial for our well-being and our personal fulfillment. So the first thing that holds us back is simple inertia, and that can be explained by Newton's laws of motion. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. If you aren't used to going out and doing new things, it's just easier to stay home and continue doing what you're doing. It takes force acting upon an object in order to move it. The good news is that an object in motion tends to stay in motion. And so the hard part is overcoming that inertia and actually getting up and taking that first step. So what are some ways that you could do that? Think about what it is that you might want to try. Maybe there's something that you used to enjoy when you were younger, before your kids came along and you got busy and didn't have time for it. Maybe you played an instrument. Maybe it was dancing. Maybe you like to paint or draw, or go bird watching, or work on cars, or garden, or fill in the blank. There's so many things. And it's gotten put on the back burner all these years. See if there's somebody you can take lessons from, or if there's a group who does that sort of thing that you can get involved in. I know some cities have like meetup groups for people who are interested in those sorts of things. Maybe you can find something like that. Or if you just have 1 or 2 close friends, say, hey, I want to try something new. Let's make a list. And everybody put in a couple of things, and each week try something. And if the new thing that you want to start is a YouTube channel, then sit down, turn on your camera, and start talking. The second thing that holds us back is fear. And fear comes in many forms. It might be what people will think of us. It might be that we're going to fail. It might be that I'm going to try it and I'm not going to like it. And specifically to YouTube, it might be a fear of mean comments. So let's talk about, first of all, the easiest one I think to knock off, and that's the fear that you won't like it. Yes, it's possible. If you try something new, you might not like it. And there might have been money involved in getting to do this new thing, and then you feel like you wasted your money. But you didn't, because you learned something. You learned that you don't like that thing, or that didn't work for you, and you can just go on to the next thing. Now, there is a little cautionary tale in there, in that maybe if you're not sure about how it's going to go over, you start small. So for example, you want to learn to knit. Before you go out and buy an entire yarn store worth of yarn and all of the needles and stitch counters and patterns and all of that kind of stuff, maybe you could just start small and see if you even like it, and then you can grow from there. I'm not sure if it's serendipity or just dumb luck, but apparently while I was recording this video, I got a couple of my bullet points a little bit confused. And so I need to film something here to fix that, because I couldn't fix it with just editing and moving things around. What's ironic is that the part that I made the mistake on was when I was talking about the fear of making mistakes. Yeah. And I thought, well, I could try to recreate the scene, put on the same shirt, try to do my makeup the same. Or I could just be real about it and say, I messed up. and this is my attempt at fixing it. What I should have said was, the second thing that we fear when trying new things is making mistakes or failing. When you try something new, the first time or few times you try it, you might make mistakes. I have over 300 videos on my channel. I still make mistakes making videos. And you know what? It's okay. Making mistakes reminds us that we're human. In some cases, it can keep us humble. We're starting to think that, hey, you know what? I've got this. I'm doing a pretty good job. Make a mistake, and it brings you down to earth really fast. And it also can help us be more relatable. People can see, oh, well, that person has been doing this for a while and they make mistakes. And so if I'm just starting, it's okay if I make mistakes too. And I think it's just really important to give yourself grace and give yourself permission to make mistakes. Mistakes are generally not unable to be fixed. And so, sure, is this video going to have a little bit of dissonance when you are suddenly not in my kitchen any longer? Yeah, but maybe if you were kind of drifting away, it'll help you get back into what I'm talking about. Let's go back to Kitchen Tina and see how editing Tina did in stitching these clips together. The other thing about failure that I want to remind you is that if you are in your 40s, 50s, or beyond, you have likely failed at something in your life. And yet, here you are. Mistakes are how we learn. We need to think about failing forward. In other words, when you fail at something, find the lesson and take a step forward. It can be really freeing to be able to make mistakes, own them, learn from them, and then move on from them. And I think about a story I learned when I was homeschooling my kids about Thomas Edison. And of course, we all know that Thomas Edison discovered the light bulb. But Thomas Edison had a huge problem when he was working on the light bulb, and that was the filament. He couldn't find the right material to make the filament, to burn bright enough to be useful, but not so hot that it burned out immediately. And he tried and he tried and he tried. And in fact, he tried over 1,000 materials, and none of them worked. And then he tried the next one, and that's the one that worked. If he had stopped at 999, his name would not be listed next to the inventor of the light bulb. Very likely somebody else would have figured it out, so I don't think we'd all be sitting in the dark. But what he said about that was that each attempt taught him what didn't work as a filament for a light bulb. He learned 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. And by eliminating the materials that didn't work, he was eventually able to get to the one that did. When I was younger, I did feel like I needed to be perfect, that I had to be the perfect employee or the perfect mom or the perfect wife or whatever it was. And nobody put that expectation on me. That was all me. And not only was it incredibly stressful because I am not a perfect person, I make mistakes all the time, it ends up being kind of paralyzing because you're afraid to do anything because you're going to mess it up. It can just be so freeing to get to a place where you can say, hey, I made a mistake. I messed this up. How can I help fix it? Because then you know that you can take that step, and even if something goes wrong, it's not the end of the world. Maybe a little bit harder is being afraid of what people will think. A lot of women, I think, in our generation were raised as people pleasers. I think our mothers probably were too. That as little girls, we were to be seen and not heard. We were praised for being good and being pretty, and we just didn't want to disappoint anyone. And so we worked really hard to figure out what people expected of us and deliver that. And in doing so, we lost something really important. We lost ourselves. We lost the idea that we had value and we had expectations that were worthy of being met as well. And I think something wonderful happens when you get to your mid-40s or early 50s and you reach this point where you realize that what other people think doesn't matter. The people who are close to you, that you love, yes, they matter. But people out there, what they think, it doesn't matter at all. This is stuff that I just feel so deeply, and I don't know how to get the words out sometimes. So I just pray that you can hear my heart in this, that I spent a lot of years being what people expected me to be. Let me rephrase that. I spent a lot of years being what I thought people expected me to be. And there's a difference. All right, I had to regroup. I was starting to veer down into territory of a completely separate video. And I think I will do that video, but not in this one. So I'm going to take out some things that I said. So there may be kind of a weird break. If there is, just know that I'm going to address those things that I said. It was talking a lot about expectations and people pleasing and that kind of stuff. But I want to summarize and talk about the fear of not meeting other people's expectations. Our family, friends, society. You may hear women over 50 don't wear this. Don't wear this kind of makeup. Don't do these activities. Don't whatever. Hogwash. Women over 50 can do anything that women under 50 can do. Let's leave it at that. And as far as the people pleasing, the people who matter should support you when you're trying new things. And the people who don't support you need to have some firm boundaries set. If you want to start a YouTube channel, but you're afraid of mean comments, I just want to tell you that they don't happen really as often as you think they might. Now, maybe when you get bigger, they will, and maybe hopefully by then you won't care as much. I've had a few, and when I get a comment that is less than kind, I always look for underneath, is there anything constructive that I can take from that comment and use it to improve my next video? Or if it was just mean, then this person was having a really bad day and I try to be kind. Or if it's just completely inappropriate, I remove it from the channel and I move on. We can get 100 good comments on a video and one negative one, and you know which one's going to be going through your head at 3 o'clock in the morning? Unless you actively take control of that thought and stop it. And I've had to do that. I found myself going back and dwelling on something that was said, and I go through and I read the good comments. That's one really good way to counteract that, is read the supportive, encouraging comments of people who said, oh, you helped me so much, or thank you for this video, it was just what I needed, and let the others go. This next reason that we don't step out and try new things is kind of a whole category of items, but it's all under the umbrella of how we talk to ourselves. And the first one of these is self-doubt, basically just thinking that you're not good enough, or that you don't deserve this, or that if it costs money, that you shouldn't be spending it because it's frivolous, or it's needed somewhere else. Now, I'm not saying take food off the table so that you can go indulge in some expensive hobby. That's not where I'm going with this. But it is okay to take a little time and sometimes even a little money and focus on yourself. The other thing that can stop us, especially if it's something that has to do with teaching something that we know, or maybe starting a new job or starting a YouTube channel, is imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is basically, who do I think I am that I could teach this? Or that I could start this channel and have something to say that anybody would want to watch. One thing that I got into in my 40s was acting in community theater. And there was a little bit of imposter syndrome, especially when I started wanting to audition for something more than just a chorus role. And I felt like there were other people who could sing better than me, who could act better than me. Why would I think that I should get the role over those people? And that wasn't my decision to make. That was the director's decision to make. And so I didn't have to worry about that part of it. My part of it was to simply get up on that stage and do the very best that I could, and then leave it in the hands of those who are going to make those decisions. And sometimes I was the one that fit the vision that the director had for that role, and sometimes it was somebody else. But if I hadn't tried, I never would have had the opportunity to play some of the roles that I played. And one of my favorite was as Tanya in Mamma Mia. It was just the most fun I've ever had on stage. So here's the thing. No one has lived the life that you have. No one has had the experiences that you had. You have a unique and valuable perspective to share with people, even on topics that may have been covered over and over and over already. You've lived 50 plus years. That counts for something. You have wisdom to share. And when you're out there trying new things and interacting with people, you're able to share that wisdom with them. And the third thing under this umbrella of how we talk to ourselves is comparison. And there's this thing going around right now about the Instagram face or the TikTok face and how all the younger influencers kind of look alike because there's this one standard of beauty or this one standard of how things should be. What a boring world it would be if we were all alike, if we all had the exact same looks, if we all had the exact same strengths and weaknesses. And things wouldn't be able to get done because you need people with differing likes, differing abilities, differing whatever in order to make this whole big, beautiful thing work. The fourth challenge that holds us back is perfectionism. And I mentioned that a little bit earlier when I was talking about myself and my feeling like I had to be perfect. But it's not just about perfectionism in ourselves. It's needing a situation to be perfect or the timing to be perfect. I'll start my YouTube channel when I have all the right equipment, or I'll start when my kids are all off at college, or I'll start when I lose weight, or I need to research more before I can start. I'll start my diet next week. I'll start inviting people over after I get my house cleaned, or after I renovate this room, or it can go on and on and on. And like happened to me with this video, you can fall into analysis paralysis. I wrote notes for this video at least 4 different times over the past year. In the last 3 weeks, I have written and rewritten the script for this. I've outlined it, I bullet pointed it, I put it into ChatGPT to try to help organize it, and I could never get it quite right. And finally, I just wrote down some very basic points and started talking. And it might be a little rambly, but hopefully I can fix some of that with editing. I can add some graphics to help keep us all on track, and you can follow along despite my best efforts. Ali Abdaal, in some of his videos, tells the story of a pottery class. The teacher had an assignment, and at the end of 30 days, he was going to grade the pots that these students made. And he divided the class in half. And one half of the class was told that they had to make a pot every day. Regardless of what it looked like, they had to finish a pot every day. And the second group was told that they needed to research and plan and make one pot the best pot that they could make. And almost without exception, the class that made one pot a day for 30 days, at the end of the 30 days, had a better pot than the group who only made one. And that's because they were given permission to fail. They were given permission to start messy, to start before they knew what they were doing, and to learn from their mistakes and apply it to the next one. And the next day they got to start again, and they still had permission to mess up and fail forward. It goes back to what we talked about before. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to start. The other thing about not taking yourself so seriously is that nobody else is really paying that much attention to you. I know I used to think when I was younger that everybody was like watching me, and if I messed up, everybody would see. But we live in a pretty self-centered world, and most people are really kind of only paying attention to themselves and the people in their very immediate sphere, or they're paying attention to their phone. So they're not really going to notice that much if you mess up. So just get out there, and like Nike says, just do it. And the fifth challenge that keeps us from trying new things is time. And for some people, this might actually be a valid reason. We are the sandwich generation, and we may have needs of children and aging parents and a job and a spouse and ourselves, and there is just not enough time for everything, and starting something new right now too. If that is you, then my prayers go out to you. And I pray for strength and for rest and for little snatches of time when you can decompress from that. My mom was a caregiver for her mom, and it is, I don't know why I'm getting emotional. My mom was a caregiver for her mom. And I saw how difficult it was for her and how much it took out of her. And if you are in that position, then know that my prayers are with you. But I think we also need to do some soul searching and take a look at our busyness. Is it busyness that is necessary, or are there things that we can let go? Maybe we don't have time to do things because of a lack of discipline. This is what gets me. I can come home from my part-time job, eat lunch, be a little tired, sit down, think, oh, I'm just going to watch one YouTube video or read a chapter of a book, and then I'll get up and do something. And before I know it, a couple of hours are gone. That's on me. And that is time that I could have been working on editing a video, planning a video, scripting it, whatever. I'm not saying I should never have downtime, but there's a time for downtime. And a lot of times when I take it, it's not time for it. So look at your day, look at your time. What is it that is sucking time away? And can you reclaim that? Maybe what I need to do when I get home and I need that little bit of downtime before I'm ready for the next thing is to set a timer and give myself 15, 20 minutes, half an hour to just decompress and do nothing, and then kick it back into gear and get back to work. Also, I think it's important that we need to look and see, are we taking responsibility for tasks that aren't ours, or for tasks that while we do them, maybe somebody else could? So if you want to start a workout routine, but you don't have time because you are the one who's doing all the cooking and cleaning, maybe there's somebody else who lives in your house who can help you do that too. Or you can trade off tasks, and one week somebody does it and the next week somebody else does it. For most of us, we're busy, but it's a busy of our own making. We tend to make time for the things that are important to us. And this one is a big ouch for me. Often when I don't have time for something, it's because I haven't managed my time well. I spend too much time scrolling. I spend too much time watching other people's YouTube. One thing that I've done that has helped immensely is I've taken all of the games off my phone. There are no Gardenscapes, Homescapes, Match 3 kind of games, nothing on my phone that I can just sit and lose time in. And it's helped, but I still do too much YouTube. And I'm relating this to myself and my YouTube channel, and I have said this before in a video, but when I'm watching content, I'm not creating content. And my goal right now is to grow my channel and make better videos and learn new things. And for some reason, I sabotage that. One way for me to address that lack of discipline is to make a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Have you heard that one before? And also, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So if you've got somewhere you want to go or something you want to do, make an action plan and set about figuring out a way to make it work. So those are the 5 things, and I've talked a little bit in between of how to overcome some of those challenges. I just want to wrap it up here a little bit at the end in case I got a little spacey and all over the place. But for inertia, start small. If you're just going to move a little bit, it doesn't take as much force to get you moving. So pick something that's not as intimidating or a big commitment. Instead of signing up for a year's worth of yoga classes, maybe you could sign up for one that's like a 4-week session. And that way it's not as big of a time commitment, it's not as big of a money commitment. And if you don't like it, then you can move on to something else without being like stuck. And I think I mentioned this before, but enlist a friend, brainstorm together, and then go on adventures together. And then simply make a list. Like I said before, think about things that you used to love to do, something you've always wanted to try, maybe something that you saw on YouTube that looked fun. And when you have your list, then prioritize and say, I want to try this one first, and then this one, and then this one, and this one, and this one I'm going to need somebody to do it with me. Who would I like that to be? And start fleshing out a plan of how you're going to start taking these steps. And then super important is we have to change the way we talk to ourselves. You have to reframe those negative thoughts about, well, something could go wrong, or I could make a mistake, or I could fail. And instead of focusing on what could go wrong, try to reframe it in a more positive light and think about the things that could go right. I could meet a new friend. I could get in shape. I could make something beautiful for my home. I could make a video that touches somebody and makes a difference in their life. Another example is, if you're thinking to yourself, I'm not going to be any good at this, try instead saying, I might struggle with this at the beginning, but if I practice, I'm going to get better. And then throughout the day, when you have those negative thoughts, catch yourself and practice reframing them. Over time, this will become a habit, and as soon as one of those thoughts will pop into your head, you will immediately reframe it and put that more positive spin on it. Practice a little bit of self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend. If you were in a class or doing something with a friend and they made a mistake, you would not say, oh my gosh, you are so stupid. I cannot believe that you're so clumsy and you did that. Never in a million years would you say that to your friend or to a child. So don't say it to yourself. Instead of saying you're such a failure to your friend or to your child, you would say, it's okay to make mistakes. Everybody does. How can I help you so that next time it'll be better? Say that to yourself. And just talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend. And for those of us who are busy and feel like we are so pressed for time that there is just no time or space to add something new to our life, perhaps we can find some time by being better at prioritizing and planning. Just having the clarity and the idea that I want to make room in my life for something can help you do that. Obviously, you want to use a calendar or a planner, block out your highest priority items first, and then go into your week with a plan. Don't just let the days happen to you. If I go into a day without a plan, but I end up at the end of the day and wonder what happened, where did it go, or the end of a week. Spend some time on Sunday, plan out your week. Address legitimate time constraints. Don't take on jobs that aren't yours or that can easily be done by somebody else. And as I said before, identify those time sucks and get rid of them. It's also important to seek help and encouragement when you're trying something new. Let somebody know that you're doing this so that they can check in on you and see how it's going. Enlist a friend. It's always more fun to do things with a buddy. If at all possible, hire out some of those jobs that are taking the time that you could be using to invest in yourself. And realize that investing in yourself is okay. You deserve to be taken care of too. You are worthy of love and care simply because of who you are, not because of what you do for anyone else. And you deserve to be able to take time to learn, to be challenged, and have fun. There's that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you absolutely can, and you should.